I find that coming out videos in 2023 are basically an example of doing the most, but walk with me. I came out of the closet 10 years ago as a gay man. 10 years. To put that in perspective, What Does the Fox Say? Do you remember that? That came out after I came out. So, a few of you watching this, and probably most people watching this, have always known me as a gay man. And join the club, so did I, but people are ever changing. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? 5 years ago? 8 months ago? Likely not. I completed my time with therapy in March, and since then I've still continued to work on myself. I've taken a lot of time away from people, and I've just been trying to realign who it is that I am. Honestly, one of the most important goals for this time to be a more complete person is so I could have a more successful relationship. You need to be the best that you can be to be an attractive mate. As RuPaul has put it, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell could you love somebody else? Can I get an amen? In all honesty, I needed to love myself because that's the romantic equation. That's step one. So, I've been doing that. I took up yoga, and I absolutely love it. I've been creating again, drawing again. Hell, I even got 60,000 words into a novel I've been writing. That's the longest I've ever gotten into a writing project. I tried dating here or there, casually, but I've been really taking this past month especially to ask myself, what is it that I want out of a relationship? In therapy, that question would be answered with another question. What are your values? And whenever I was asked that question in therapy, I'd always answer with, well, all my values I'm really unwilling to share. I love music, I love TV, I love talking queer history. All of these things are really important to me, but something that is equally important to me as a value is my independence. So where do I go from there? I thought of this as a roadblock that I needed to overcome. In all of my previous quasi-relationships, as I call them situationships, I have always maintained some sort of distance. So that was the reason, so I thought, why things never really wanted to work out for my relationships. I mean, I don't want kids. Marriage has never been something I'm aiming towards. And sure, these are all things that I shouldn't be necessarily worried about at 23, but even closer steps in relationships didn't really appeal to me. I don't want to live with someone else. I don't really want to share my space with someone, and frankly, I don't really want to become an us. I've always really enjoyed going on first dates. I've had a lot of excitement meeting new people, but whatever exciting feelings I would have for any person would quickly fade out afterwards. So I thought to myself, well, I just haven't found the right guy yet, which prompts the question, who is the right guy? Which then prompts the question, well, the right guy is whoever shares your values. What are your values? And we've come full circle, and I've reached an impasse. Even more recently, as I've begun to feel closer to being ready to seriously date again, with the feeling of self-love now in my tool belt, I have been asking myself these questions again, and finding myself stuck in that circle of questions again. Who was the right guy? Because when we didn't have things in common, I just got bored. Opposites do not always attract, which made me more recently consider, maybe within the last month or so, the opposite side of the coin. If I were dating someone with the exact replica of my personality, how would I feel? We could talk the same movies, the same music, talk about anything and everything that I currently enjoy. And it made me feel cramped, and it made me feel swallowed up, consumed. There is only a very short distance that I'm comfortable going through in a relationship with a guy, and it just made me feel like I couldn't win. I am truly happier than I have ever been with myself, and still I am back at square one. It was then that I started to consider my past situationships that I'd had only begun because we had mutual attraction and like a few things in common. But I was missing the coals in my furnace that I needed to stoke a relationship any further. So this past month, I have begun to re-question my identity. And the more I do it, the more comfortable I feel and the more, like, sense my life has. It's like one of those moments where the treasure hunters realize that they've had the map upside down the entire time. It wasn't that I just still am not ready for a relationship, it's that I don't want one, period. I'm aromantic. It's actually amusing to me and a little exciting that I am coming out again. I know it's not really as exciting to look at as being gay is, but nevertheless, how many people get to come out more than once in their life? Being aromantic would have been a conclusion that I drew a lot earlier on in my life if I were also asexual, but I'm not, I think. Maybe. Guys are still, like, super hot to me, but I'm not really in the mood to have sex right now either. Casual intimacy in general just feels very superficial at the moment, and I am far too sensitive for that. I am not really sweating redefining my sexuality anytime soon. It's just that looking back at my history and a lot of my life through the frame of aromanticism just makes a lot of sense. Certain guys I'd find super attractive, and we'd have something in common. They would be a really good friend to make, so bam, those were all the ingredients you needed for a relationship recipe. And throw in the fact that for much of my life I was miserable with myself, being in love always seemed like the cure. It seemed like everyone was so happy to be in love. Love is such a good story, and I love happy stories. I wanted to be happy. But looking back, I just had hot friends, or hot acquaintances. I never actually pictured myself in a relationship with them. And they weren't ever interested in me in that way in the first place, which probably prevented me from making a crap ton of mistakes, let me tell you. Either way, this was the common denominator for all of my situationships. They were hot. I know that's very superficial, but I think that was it. Being gay, I'm sure some of you know, we have an aggressively sexual community. It's easy, or at least it was easy for me, to fall into the trap of thinking that my sexuality completed my identity. I know I liked being intimate with men. Women don't do it for me, non-binary people do not do it for me. I am a Kinsey 13. So, I guess I just have always thought, like, I'm gay. I mean, I'm homosexual, so I am homo-romantic. I don't find women attractive, so I don't want to date them either. Being queer already and loving being queer already, I think made it a very interesting challenge for me to approach the aromantic label. I already came out so long ago that I forgot what it felt like to be uncomfortable with my identity and to have that, aha moment. Those feelings felt so foreign to me. I think I just pushed them away as impossible to ever reconsider. I think I felt uncomfortable shaking up a label that I so obviously fit into. I mean, I am so fruity, I don't even need to tell people I'm gay. They clock it 10 seconds into talking to me. To others, my identity was obvious, so for me, I thought there was just nothing deeper than that, I guess. Had I been straight and aromantic, I think this would have been a lot easier to get to. I love gay stories. I love feeling seen through TV, movies, books, even music. But I could never seem to be able to get the full picture from them. Like, the best representation I could find for me were the weirdo gay characters that I'd rarely see, but even then, I'd never actually be rooting for them to be in their relationships so much as I would just be rooting for them to be themselves and love themselves. Queerness and weirdness all the same. My favorite TV show and my favorite movie, High Fidelity and Straight Up respectively, I have always described as my favorites because they're love stories but not romance stories, which probably should have been the best hint right there. Even the novel I'm writing now suddenly has a lot more direction. Like, I was writing a story about an aromantic character and I didn't even realize it. Because of that, it'll probably never see the light of day, because now I just want to rewrite all 60,000 words I have so far. Now, one thing I probably should mention is I am an avoidant person. And having an avoidant personality disorder, I think, was another reason that made this so hard for me to fully embrace being aromantic. My mind wasn't even going to consider aromanticism because I already knew I was avoidant, and that was the problem that I needed to solve for me to be happy. I mean, there are days where I feel lonely still, because being aromantic doesn't cure you of loneliness. Honestly, there have already been days where I have felt not queer enough, and I haven't been out to almost anyone. Also, that's totally stupid because I literally dressed in the aromantic colors for this video. What straight man would do that? And yeah, there are days where sometimes I wonder if I will fall in love, but I also know that me saying I'm aromantic now and very much feeling comfortable with that label doesn't sentence me to being aromantic for the rest of my life. We are ever changing, as I said at the very beginning of this video. Now, representation has always been important to me, and I've never really seen people who are like me, in the sense of there are 1,000,001 gay men on the internet, there are a lot of straight aromantic people out there, and of course there are a lot of people who are both aromantic and asexual, but it's quite hard to understand yourself when you don't have someone to point to and go like, that's me! The closest that I could find was someone named Alpharad, who is a content creator and streamer, but even then our identities don't fully align, so not to be like self-aggrandizing or like magnanimous, but I figured I might as well make a whole video about it so I could be that representation for someone else. So yeah, I am gay, and more importantly, I'm aromantic, and I'm probably going to be embracing that identity a little bit more for the time being, because it's very exciting learning something about yourself that you never knew, about starting a new chapter in your life. So, happy Pride.